Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and today I'm happy and honored to have as my guest Mr. Bill Routzahn, who recently retired from Frederick County government after 45 years working as the Superintendent of Highway Operations. At least that's where you ended up. And so, welcome, Bill.
Thank you for having me this morning.
So I'm happy to have you on the show. There's very few employees who have worked for the county for 45 years and had such a distinguished career. A lot of people in county government know you, and they really have warm feelings towards you, and really enjoyed working with you over the years. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about your early days working for Frederick County government?
Sure. Actually, I have a little bit more than 45 years. I started in 1972 as summer help, 72 and 73. And I came right out of high school, right after the last day of school. I think I started here. And I worked on the bridge crew. And wouldn't you know it, in all, like 2 weeks after I started here, we had Agnes hit. Okay. Well, anybody who lived in Frederick County knows all the Monocacy River bridges got washed out. And my job was to put the barricades up along all the ramps to the bridges. So it wasn't anything motorized. We had to dig all the post holes by hand and plant the posts. It was all manual labor. So my first summer was working on the bridges. And I remember going down to Lily Pines, and all the goldfish come out of the Lily Pines water garden and ended up in the Monocacy. And there was thousands of goldfish all over everything. But my first experience was the flood. So,
well, that's a great way to get started.
And then after 2 summer help years, I started back in 1974. I was assigned to a Jefferson crew as a laborer because I didn't have a Class B license. But the crew consisted of like 3 people, and they didn't have very much equipment. So I went to work in Jefferson, and I'll never forget my first day was to shovel coal mix on the shoulder of South Mountain Road. Okay. So I'm on the back of a truck with chipboard, shoveling off coal mix, not just one load, but 4 loads. I was 40 ton by myself one day.
Wow.
And I'm thinking.
And you came back the next day.
I was saying, what am I doing? But it was hot, and but I enjoyed it, and I stayed with the county, and then a few months after I started, I got my Class B. They didn't have CDL license. I got my B license, became a truck driver. Until 79, I moved up to a foreman. Okay. In 1983, I moved into the Frederick office, went salary, and was a utility coordinator / section head for the crews. And in 1991, I was able to move up to superintendent, department head at that time, but superintendent. So I've been superintendent ever since 1991.
Well, you've seen a lot of changes over the years, just from talking about your first day of work until where you ended up. What do you think were the biggest changes that happened in highway operations?
Work zone safety. When I first started, talk about putting up a work zone sign, a men working sign, that was never heard of. And finally, they started making us put signs up. And now you have to have training, you have to have flagger training, you have to have follow the manual. It's state manual, nationwide manual, to put up the signs. So that's a big change. Snow removal is a big change. When I started, the county had 32 trucks that were 10 ton that we pushed snow with. We had 6 graders. That's the only thing we had to push snow with in Frederick County. My snow run was over 30-mile long.
Wow. Just
to make one trip around my run took me over 12 hours. And we used cinder mix, 75% cinders, only 25% salt. And most time it would freeze up on your trucks. But you wouldn't put it on the whole road. You'd only put it on hills, curves, and intersections. And the rest of the road stayed covered. You pushed the snow off and it stayed covered. Nowadays, we use all salt. We use brine prior to the storm.
Right.
And our snow runs are down to about 15 mile, give or take. Much more better system now. It's just so much more efficient nowadays. We had only trucks we had were push snow was like the 10 tons. The foreman drove pickup trucks, but they were regular trucks, two-wheel drive, no plows.
Wow.
Now, every truck in Frederick County highway is a four-wheel drive except the bucket truck.
Well, and I assume some of your priorities about what you plowed out first changed too, because you used to try to make sure that we got, well, and I'm sure there's still a priority to maybe a lesser extent to try to make sure farmers could get their milk out.
That's the main thing. And my first blizzard I went through by myself pretty much was '93. And that was a big concern, getting the farmers' milk out. And that was kind of hard. There was a lot of farmers back then, so we tried our best. I think we only lost a couple of farms, that had to drop milk, but for the most part we did well. But now the farms are less and less. They're bigger, but we know where we can focus and get the milk
Them to get their
yeah.
milk out so they're not dumping their milk. So the county's certainly changed. Obviously, there's more roads, there's more people, there's areas where it's harder to plow potentially than before because of narrow streets.
Oh,
So we
yes.
used to have narrow country roads, and expectations have had to change too. I mean, with all of the pre-treatment, people have this expectation that snow will disappear moments after it hits the ground.
Yes. Years ago, when I first started, you could plan on coming in like 4 o'clock. Nobody was on the road till probably 6. So you have plenty of time. And after 6 or 7 o'clock at night, almost everybody was off the roads. So you could plan your snow removal and be out there when nobody's there. Nowadays, it's all the time. It's traffic every hour of the night, it seems like. Not as much, but it's always traffic out there. And we still, have the narrow roads in the subdivisions. It's traffic calming.
Mm-hmm.
It's made that way, the slow traffic, but it's a hindrance to ours. We can only put our smaller trucks in a lot of these subdivisions. And when you have the big blizzards, the first time we ever had to haul snow out of the subdivision was Urbana, I think 2010.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nowhere to put that amount of snow, so we had to actually haul it out, and that took forever.
Yes, it takes a
So
lot
it
longer.
takes forever, and it's expensive, but it gets done.
It does get done.
Yes.
I think our road crews and our whole highway operations has a good reputation for snow removal and actually for road maintenance as well. Certainly people think about snow and focus on these big snow events, but I'm not sure they're always aware of what goes on all year round to maintain our roads. So it's quite a bit of work.
Yes, a lot of training goes involved. We have our snow rodeo, train the guys how to maneuver the trucks. But it starts in October. We start fixing the trucks up. It takes like a month and a half to fix the trucks up, get everything working on them, and then, in the spring we have to tear everything apart. So it takes a month to tear everything apart and fix and make sure it's treated so it doesn't rust. It's a long process for snow, but we take pride in our snow. We always have.
Yep.
It's one of the challenges. You feel good. You see what you're doing out there. You can tell. And people traveling out through the state, through the counties, they always comment on Frederick County, how well the roads are. And I was always proud of that.
Yeah, we always get compliments about snow removal from existing residents as well as other people traveling through. And sometimes I think our road crews, our employees, are kind of excited when we get a snowstorm so they can get out there and do their jobs. I
used to be excited too, but that wears off. After a couple of years, it wears off.
Well, not everybody may know, but I know you as the person who would kind of be in charge and certainly in charge of communicating to the elected officials, what was happening out there in the middle of the night and whether county government and schools and the court system, everybody should close. Mm-hmm. And you were always awake in the middle of the night.
Right.
And during these big blizzards, I could call you or email you, and you were always awake. So you're kind of known for the guy who was always on the job, and your dedication is really quite incredible. So, what was the longest time you ever stayed awake during a storm?
I believe it was one of the blizzards. Commissioner Bruce Reeder was in office, and I know he came by the office several times, and I had not gone to sleep yet. And it's like, I think it was 3 days. It's the point you could pinch your cheek on, and you couldn't even feel it. You couldn't even feel you pinch yourself, and you're so tired. But nowadays we know we can't do that. We got to give the guys a break.
Right.
We have to get them off, get them a little better rest. But yeah, 3 days is about the max anybody can go, I think.
I think I couldn't go anywhere close to that. So I think that's kind of incredible. What advice would you share with somebody new coming into this type of job that we have in highway operations?
Well, just be true. If you can't do a job, let people know you can't do it. I always was one who want to try to please everybody. They come with a work request or something. I try my best to make it happen, but sometimes you just can't. It's just impossible. It's outside the right of way or whatever. But if somebody you can't do it, let them know up front you can't do it.
Yeah, I think people always can deal with the truth if you can explain it to them, and that they appreciate it in the long run. So, do you have any comments on what your biggest accomplishments might have been?
Well, just overall helping the county, I think working with DFRS, working with Sheriff's Department, helping them accomplish some of their goals or missions they had out there. Lake Lingnor, we had the townhouse fires. It was